WomanVision TV. I'm your host, Nadia Giordana. I like to do a variety of fun and interesting things on the program. Much of the time that means I'll be interviewing one of the extraordinary women that I've met in my travels around town. Other times I might do a cooking segment, and once in a while something a little different. Today I want to show you a clip from what I like to call my sister program, It's a Woman's World. They're produced out of the SPNN studios in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they focus on women and women's issues, much like this program. About 6 months ago, I was delighted to be a guest on that program and shared my own story. Come watch it with me, won't you?
Welcome back to It's a Woman's World, and now we have a great guest, Nadia Giordana. And Nadia is a life strategist, and she has also accomplished a weight loss of about 88 pounds, and she's going to talk to us about that. Welcome, Nadia. We're glad you're here.
Hi, I'm pleased to be here.
Now, what exactly is a life strategist?
I guess more what I call myself is a lifestyle strategist.
Okay.
And that's because I'm more of a mentor and a motivator. I'm not a coach in the sense where I take on clients day to day in that sense.
Well, you've gone through dramatic change in your life. What has been what was your catalyst, and what do you owe your success to that you can pass on to the women that are watching today?
Well, I'll tell you the story. It was 2006. And I was working in a corporate job that I intended to stay with until I retired. When the layoff came, I was blindsided. I was devastated. I was paralyzed. I didn't know what to do. As a matter of fact, I didn't do anything for a full year after that. I didn't go out and look for other work. I didn't feel like I was hireable at that point in time, and that I'll get into that in a second. But I was seriously overweight. That's part of the reason I didn't feel like I could go out and look for work. But I didn't even try. Until the moment when I had what you'd call the proverbial aha moment. And I thought to myself, my life isn't even close to being over. And neither is anyone else's when we think about it. So I decided to address the one area of my life in need of the greatest renovation, and that was my weight. What I did was take stock of where I was, how I had gotten there, or how I had slipped off track might be more accurate, where I really wanted to be, and how I was going to get there. I started designing a plan. I put it down on paper. I did a little research on the internet with regard to nutrition and things, but really, I knew what I'd been doing wrong. I knew I was overeating. I knew I was making wrong choices. I just had to organize the plan and implement it in my life. So I did that.
Not an easy task.
Not an easy task. I make it sound easy sometimes, but it wasn't an easy task. And for the first 6 months, which made it even less easy, I had a leg injury, so I wasn't able to do any weight-bearing exercise.
Wow.
So I lost the first 60 pounds without benefit of exercise.
Oh my gosh.
But at that point, I added exercise to my routine. I knew I needed it, and I knew it was important, and went on to lose a full 88 pounds. It took about 14 months. I kept a lot of notes, and I also kept a food journal during that time. My intent was to maybe write a couple of articles, start a blog about my weight loss journey. But in the end, I realized I had enough information for a book. And that's how Thinking Skinny was originally born.
And I love the title, don't
It
you?
is great. And I know we're going to see the picture of you before and after on the cover of that book. But I love it. You make the point that there was more to it than just losing weight. So you wrote the book, and then
There
what
really
came
was,
next?
out of the realization that there's so much more to this. It wasn't about the weight loss when you get right down to it. It was about doing what I had intended to do for years. It was about getting healthy. It was about a lot of different things. And I was I wrote the second book, Reinventing New Chapters in Your Life at Any Age, 7 Steps to Making It Happen, because of that. It was designed to inspire other women in my age group that no matter what it is, whether it's your health or whether it's a project or whether it's something fun you wanted to do, whether it's starting a business, many of us have shelved those things throughout the course of our lives. And someday is here. It's time for us to get out there and do those things.
And so what are the 7 steps that you've talked about in your book that you think were successful in your weight loss?
Exactly. And I wrote those down too, and they became the second book. The first one we touched on when we talked about thinking skinny, reshaping a healthier body and attitude. And that can be a lot of different things for women too, whether that's just improving your nutrition, getting out and walking once in a while, reducing stress, making allowances and doing some things to keep your mental health in a good place. And the second one, which I think is very important, realigning relationships that are out of sync in your life. It's difficult, if not impossible, to start a new chapter in your life if there's stress or active conflict going on around you. So it's very important to resolve those things.
I think realign is a nice word, though, too, because it
Yes.
doesn't necessarily mean you ditch all your old friends. You just realign them.
Good point.
Exactly.
Good point.
Yeah, and that is right. Realigning your thought patterns to realigning your thought patterns to understand and to leave open to the possibilities that are still out there for this new chapter in your life. For me, and for almost anybody, you're going to bring in at that point, it's a good spot for prayer, for visualization, for coaching, for books, for going to classes, mentoring. I used prayer and visualization a lot in my weight loss journey. For someone else, they might use something different. The fourth one, rediscovering the magic in your life. That's a fun one because I remember, and many of you do too, I remember a point, I was a child, I looked up into the sky and I thought to myself, I have my whole life ahead of me. What a wondrous and exciting feeling that is. And what I want people to know is no matter where we are on that timeline, we still do. We just have to embrace it and make use of it. Removing lingering regrets, that's number 5. And that also is important.
It's a tough one.
That's a tough one, and we all have regrets. None of us gets a do-over in this life. There's so many things that we'd like to live over if we could, and we can't, and we carry those regrets. If we let them weigh us down, we're never going to be able to move forward.
How were you able to do that? I mean, everything you're talking about, and I know we haven't even hit all the steps yet, some of these are really major efforts. And was the prayer and the visualization enough to get you through this?
You know, for this one, I didn't use those things. One of the things I used was to simply voice that regret, cry about something if it's a big one. I have one that always makes people smile. I say, rationalize. But I mean that in a very positive ways. There are ways of rationalizing things where you might even be able to find something positive out of something very negative. And then bring to mind for yourself some really good things that you've done in your life and balance that out. Those are 3 things that I tell people to do, to put those into a proper perspective, because it is a tough one.
Yeah, that would be.
And number 6, rewriting your new life chapter. That's goal setting, pure and simple. I have a 3-tiered approach to goal setting that can be applied to almost any situation. And you use that to map out and draw out this new life chapter and then implement it. And of course, number 7, revealing your purpose, revealing your new life project, whether that's a new business, whether that's a new endeavor that you're going to do, whether it's a sport, it doesn't matter what it is. Write an article about it, have a Facebook page, tell your friends. And if it's a personal transformation like mine was, reintroduce yourself to your family and friends.
Well, now, as a life experience strategist, who comes to see you Can you say something about that? Who do you work with?
I don't take on clients one-on-one. What I do, I get my message out through my books, through my videos, through doing workshops, speaking to women's groups.
Gotcha.
That's where I am.
And I know that you've got WomanVision TV. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one. But strangely, that came out of another big stumbling block in my life. I've had a lifelong, deep-seated fear of public speaking. Here I am on your show.
Look at you. You're wonderful.
Seems pretty darn
Yeah.
Don't make me think about it. But I did. I had a lifelong fear of public speaking, and I did a few things to work past that. I started doing some speaking to small groups and in short periods of time, and then for a couple of years I did a blog talk radio show. And that did me a lot of good because I was able to place my focus on my guests rather than on myself. And I've always had a love of the technical aspects and the behind the camera parts of
Sounds
video.
like me.
I just love that.
You love that, huh?
Yes, I do. And out of that came WomanVision TV. I decided to put that all together. I built a mini TV studio in the basement of my house. Susan's been there.
Yes, I've
You've
been there,
seen
and it looks very fancy, very nice.
It's really fun, and it didn't take much to put together. And now I have WomanVision TV, where I interview and talk to some of the exciting and fun women that cross my path when I'm out and about.
And she does a great job.
And how can I see WomanVision TV?
I have, it's on my website, embodyyourvision.com. There are links
Wonderful.
to the show.
Wonderful.
And what else would you want to leave us with that you think would be most important for viewers?
The one thing I'd like to talk about, because it falls right into reinventing new chapters in your life at any age, are my two greatest mentors in my whole life. I'm so proud of them. They are my parents.
Oh.
They're in their mid-80s now. But in 1978, at age 50, after raising 4 children to adulthood, they sold their dairy farm in Motley, Minnesota. They packed up all their belongings and loaded up a 1964 Freightliner semi-tractor and trailer with 73,000 pounds of gear and equipment.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
said goodbye to family and friends and set out to carve a new life for themselves in Alaska. They built a log cabin on the frozen tundra. Dad did prospecting and hunting and provided for what their meager needs that they had. Mom built a garden, made new friends. She went out and picked berries in bear country, no small feat. And they lived there for 27 years, living off the land and what little income they had.
It sounds like they really modeled your 7 steps, even though you may not have put those 7 steps together at the time.
Yep.
It sounds like they exemplified it.
They really did. I don't know how that happened, and maybe that is how it happened as far as how it influenced me, but yes, they certainly did.
What wonderful role models.
And you are so inspiring. That's you're a wonderful role model.
Yeah,
too.
you really
fun.
are.
It's fun.
We only have a little bit of time, but is there anything else when you think of the baby boomers coming up, and you're a baby boomer, some other extra little, in the few seconds we have left, a major punch that you would recommend to baby boomers?
I like to tell baby boomers to think about their life as if it were a book and ask themselves what chapters are yet to be written, and don't ever let the opinions of someone else stop you from doing something that you really want to do.
So even at this later stage in our lives, we've still got a lot open to us.
We have the whole rest of our lives ahead of us.
Yeah, that's wonderful thinking. Well, thank you very much, Nadia, for joining us and being interviewed. And Bonnie, thank you as
Great.
well. And thank you for joining It's a Woman's World. And we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.